You are watching the Dangerous News Network, news, sports, and politics, where the content is uncut, uncensored, and unbelievable. And this is your host, Daniel McFarland. And this is the politics version of the Dangerous News Network. Yes, the congressional race is underway. There are 14 congressional districts in the state of Michigan. So I'm going to highlight the congressional districts, and I'm going to tell you who I endorse in the congressional races. But let's look at the U.S. Senate race. Terry Lynn Land is going up against Gary Peters, the current congressman in the 14th congressional district, which is where I live. And I endorse Gary Peters. Terry Lynn Land's a right-wing hack. Now, I'm not impressed with Gary Peters, but hey, he's the best candidate. But here is the first congressional district. The candidates that matter are Dan Benchek, however you pronounce his name, and Gary Cannon. Dan Benchek is the current congressman in the first congressional district. Gary Cannon, he's an Army officer who's running as a Democrat. In the first congressional district, I endorse Gary Cannon, the Army officer. Now let's look at the second congressional district. Dean Vandersteel is likely from Muskegon. He's the Democratic challenger. Now, let's look at the first congressional district. Let's go back. The first congressional district is a toss-up, a true toss-up. The second congressional district is likely going to be Republican, but it's not that safe Republican that Muskegon can't say anything about it. Dean Vandersteel is likely from Muskegon, and Bill Huizenga, he's the incumbent congressman. He's the incumbent congressman. Bill Huizenga, he's just as right-wing as Justin Amash and Kerry Bentivolio and Timothy Walberg. Those three are the worst congressmen we have from the Michigan delegation. I endorse Dean Vandersteel. I hope Muskegon gets out and votes. Muskegon and Muskegon Heights needs to get out and vote. Show Ottawa County, show District 2 that his shit's not going to be taken. Now let's look at District 3. The 3rd congressional district tilts Republican. Last time I checked, it tilts Republican, but Grand Rapids is a Democratic zone, and Battle Creek's a Democratic zone. They're not safe. Justin Amash is not safe, but he thought that he was safe. He thought he was safe. With his Tea Party antics, he thought he was safe. He thought he was safe because Grand Rapids didn't get out and vote. And now he has a challenger, Brian Ellis. Now, Brian Ellis is no better. but he's just as heartless as Justin Amash. But he's not a racist, and he's not crazy like Justin Amash, but he's just as heartless. I can tell you that. Bob Goodrich is the Democratic candidate for the 3rd Congressional District. I'm endorsing Bob Goodrich. If Grand Rapids and Battle Creek gets out and votes, Justin Amash, he's done anyway. Justin Amash is done even if he beats Brian Ellis. I think that's his name. I think his name is Brian Ellis, the challenger. But good thing Mark Jansen didn't run. That guy's just as far right as Justin Amash. But let's look at District 4. District 4 leans Republican, but it's not that likely that a Republican runs. It wasn't that likely that a Republican would win if Sheltron was running, but he ain't. Jonathan Sheltron declined to run. Jeff Holmes is the candidate from the Democratic Party. The Republican that matters the most is John Molinar. I think his name is either John or Jim Molinar. I don't know. I'm not completely sure. I'm not 100% sure. But Peter Konecny, he's a Tea Party guy too. He calls himself a constitutionalist. He doesn't stand a chance though, so I'm not worried. I'm worried about Molinar. I'm worried about this Molinar guy. Molinar is a Tea Party hack. That guy works for the Koch brothers. That guy works for the rich white elite. You see, he works for the rich white elite. I endorse Jeff Holmes. Hopefully, he's a strong candidate. I would have felt much stronger about District 4 if Jonathan Sheltron won. If Jonathan Sheltron ran. Now let's look at the 5th Congressional District. You know, that's Flint and Saginaw in the Bay Area. And it's a safe Democratic zone. Dan Kildee is the only candidate that matters. I'm endorsing Dan Kildee, but I don't think he's going to have much of a challenge. Now let's look at District 6. Now that district might be interesting. Fred Upton's the incumbent. He's a Republican. He's the uncle of Kate Upton, who's the girlfriend of Detroit Tigers ace Justin Verlander. So Fred Upton, he may be the future uncle-in-law of Justin Verlander. But let's look at Fred Upton. I'm not that sure about his track record. He is a perceived moderate. So I'm going to endorse his primary. But the further review is going to come out post-August. And I will have a further review about Fred Upton's track record as a congressman, and I'm going to compare him to Paul Clemens. So I haven't decided who I'm going to endorse. Both Paul Clemens and Fred Upton for now are getting my consideration for the 6th Congressional District. And I will have my endorsement upon further review. That district is a true toss-up in theory. But Fred Upton is considered moderate. So he might. So Paul Clemens has a long climb. Let's look at District 7. Timothy Walberg is the incumbent congressman of the 7th District. The 7th Congressional District is a battle between, he beat Mark Schauber in 2010, and he crushed his opponent in 2012. But 2014 might be way different. Pam Behrens, a senator from Ann Arbor, Michigan. No, she's not from Ann Arbor. She's from suburban Washtenaw County. Washtenaw County is a Democratic zone. Monroe County can swing. Lenawee County can swing. Well, Monroe County, it swings. Lenawee County can swing. But in other words, Timothy Walberg and his antics, the only guy that is as far right as Timothy Walberg is Justin Nash and Kerry Bentivolio. Both of them. He's the third most far right. He's the third furthest right congressman in Michigan. Pam Behrens shouldn't have a tough time beating her. The 7th Congressional District tilts Republican, but it can flip to a moderate Democrat. And Pam Behrens is a moderate Democrat. Tim Walberg is done as a congressman. I have confidence. But it's not a safe Democratic zone. So I may contribute to Pam Behrens' candidacy and Tim Walberg's dismissal. I want him gone that badly. Now let's look at the 8th Congressional District. That's Northern Oakland County, Livingston County, and Ingham County, which includes Lansing. That district is a true toss-up. Yes, Northern Oakland County. If this was just Northern Oakland County, it would be a safe Republican zone. Rochester and Rochester Hills, they're a far-right Republican zone. Outside of Oakland University, Rochester and Rochester Hills is far-right. So is Oakland Township, so is Oregon, so is Oxford, and so is Addison, so is Groveland, and so is Brandon, and so is Independence Township, and so is Rose. Holly Township is, well, it leans Republican, but it's not as far right as the rest of Northern Oakland County. Holly Township has sworn. Obama carried Holly Township in 2008. So it can swing. Livingston County is far right, except maybe the southern part. But the southern part is Republican too. That's how Mike Rogers won. And that's how he was able to bully. That's how he was able to bully Barack Obama, the President of the United States. Now let's look at Lansing. Let's look at Lansing. Um, Ingham County is a Democratic zone. Lansing is the biggest Democratic zone. So so I stand by my statement. It's a toss-up. Eric Schertzen is the Eric Schertzen is running for Congress. Ken Darger, Susan Gredenberger. Those are the three that matters most. But the strongest candidate is, I think, is Eric Schertzen. And I'm going to endorse Eric Schertzen. Now the Republicans, they sent out Mike Bishop, the worst Biff Tannen from Lansing. Well, not from Lansing. He's from Rochester, but he represented Lansing. He represented as a state representative and as a state senator. And Pontiac has put up with his Biff Tannen tactics in 2002 to 2010 as a senator. And I'm sure that Pontiac was upset that they had to be represented by that rightist. But I'm glad I'm not in that district. I'm endorsing Eric Schertzen for the 8th Congressional District as the congressman. Now let's look at the 9th. Let's move on. 9th Congressional District. That district is safely in the Democratic hands. Republicans can't compete. Now, they might have a slight chance in Bloomfield Township, but even Bloomfield Township is a Democratic zone, or at least can swing. Disturbance. What the hell? Sorry for the interruption. District 10, well, not District 10, Macomb County. Macomb County is unionist. Oakland County has unionist pockets too. But southeastern Oakland County is mostly a mix of unionist, progressive, and some minorities too. Sander Levin's the incumbent, and he's going to get another term. I guarantee you. He has the respect of the moderates, the liberals, and the unionists, and those that are independent. I endorse Sander Levin, but I don't think he's going to have a tough time. I really don't. District 10, Candace Miller is the incumbent, and she's looking to get another term, and she's going to get it. That district is safe Republican. That district is that far right that is a safe Republican zone. Even the Democratic zones of Port Huron and Sterling Heights can't counterbalance northern Macomb or St. Clair County as a whole. That's the cold hard fact. The only thing we can hope is Candace Miller ain't too far right. but her name wasn't on there on the infamous Tea Party list. Now let's move to the District 11. I live close to District 11. The 11th Congressional District comprises of, yes, some Pontiac area suburbs like the Oakland University campus, which is Auburn Hills, and Rochester Hills, Troy, Waterford, Bloomfield Hills. But it also comprises of the western Detroit suburbs like Livonia, Canton, Plymouth, Northville, and Milford and Novi and Farmington. So yes, that's suburban Pontiac and suburban Detroit, to be honest. Bob McKenzie is the biggest deal in the Democratic Party. On the Republican side, it's a primary between Kerry Bentivolio, the incumbent, the Tea Party incumbent, the accidental winner, and he barely won, though, in 2012, and David tried. Now let's talk about Kerry Bentivolio. Bentivolio is a right-wing hack. He is the craziest right-winger outside of Justin Amash. But David Trott ain't no better. He's just as heartless as he's proven to be just as heartless as Kerry Bentivolio. So you know who I'm in. District 11 is a toss-up. You know who I'm endorsing. I'm endorsing Bob McKenzie. That district is a true toss-up. Now let's look at the 12th, 13th, and 14th congressional districts. All three congressional districts are safe Democratic zones. But let's look at District 12 first. It's a Democratic primary between Raymond Marlins. Raymond Marlins against Debbie Dingell. Now Debbie Dingell, she's the wife of John Dingell, who's retiring after 60 years in Congress. And, almost 60 years, I should say. And Raymond Marlin is an African-American lawyer who's from Ypsilanti. Ann Arbor, and it does include Ann Arbor. The 12th congressional district includes Ann Arbor, which is more Clinton-like than a true liberal zone. Except, if you go into University of Michigan, that's the liberal part of Ann Arbor. The rest of Ann Arbor is more Clinton-like, generic-like Democratic zone. Ypsilanti is unionist, and so is Eastern Washtenaw County in the Willow Run stage. Wayne County is very unionist, but it's also very racist. especially if you get to Taylor and Dearborn. And that's what the district goes through, Taylor and Dearborn. Raymond Marlin's going to get eaten up alive in that district, I'm afraid. But they don't like African Americans, but they're not stupid enough to vote against their best interests, which is obviously the Democratic Party. I'm endorsing Debbie Dingell. The district is much too conservative for Raymond Marlin to have a chance, especially in Wayne County. I don't think he's even going to carry Washtenaw County. Now let's look at the 13th Congressional District. Horace Sheffield IV is challenging incumbent John Conyers. He's been for 45 years. Well, 50 years, I should say. 50 years. That's how long John Conyers has been in Congress. So he was 30. He was about 30-something when he was a congressman. That's how long ago that was. He hasn't had a challenge since 1994, 21 years ago. It's 2014. And I don't see that changing. I really don't. I'm endorsing John Conyers. I'm not, even if Horace Sheffield had a chance, I ain't getting behind a scam artist. And his daughter married the city councilwoman better not be involved in some scam. Because she will be ripped apart on the Dangerous News Network. But finally, District 14, it includes Detroit and Pontiac and its suburbs. The Grosse Pointe is part of the District 14. West Bloomfield is part of District 14. Those are the threats to black power. Now, the 4 Democratic candidates that are running are Brenda Lawrence, the lone woman, Burgess Foster, Hanson Clark, and Rudy Hobbs. Hanson Clark's the former congressman, but he's a nice guy, but he's a Pollyannish type that Detroit voters turned away in 2012. Brenda Lawrence is the mayor of Southfield. She endorsed current Pontiac Mayor Deidre Waterman. But she ran the city of Southfield since 2001 when I was in high school. Burgess Foster, he's a guy with multiple degrees, but he's done nothing with his life. And that's the whole cold, hard truth. I know Burgess Foster. He used me when I was in college till he used me up. He sure as hell not getting my vote. But here's the people that I'm going to endorse. Who's getting my consideration for District 14? Rudy Hobbs and Brenda Lawrence. The state representative, Rudy Hobbs, and the mayor of Southfield, Brenda Lawrence. And that's the highlights for the Michigan congressional races. And this is the Dangerous News Network. I'm Daniel McFarland. I approve this message. Hit me up and subscribe on YouTube.